Welcome to the Victory Multisport podcast. This is Coach Sarge, and today I'm with Coach Kenny.
Hey, good morning, Sarge.
Yeah, how you doing, Kenny?
Dude, I'm doing very good. New year, new me, everything.
Absolutely, man. January 2025.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Coach Scott could not be with us today. He's visiting his family in Florida, so we've asked two very special guests to join us today and come on the podcast. We've got Nick Eder. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good. How are you guys?
I'm great, Nick. And Brian Peters, BP.
What's up, guys? I'm just glad to not be in the house with the kids right now.
That's right. Yeah, get out of the house.
Caught in the 9-degree weather.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah.
I've done running with Shane Porter. He texted me the other day. He's like, hey, what are you doing on Sunday? I guess we're running in 9-degree weather.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He's a beast. He just lets it fly.
Yep.
He does. And BP's along for the ride.
I know.
You're
I
his
can't breathe.
compadre.
He keeps talking. I can't breathe.
Yeah, it's good for you.
It will be good for you. Brian doesn't care though. I mean, his last race was like a flooded.
Yeah.
So you're very well versed in running in natural disasters.
Right.
It's 9-degree weather. It doesn't matter. Pacing
Doesn't really matter. So
Prepared.
we really appreciate you guys coming on the podcast and spending some time with us this morning and telling a deep dive into both of your stories, which seem to be very similar from what we were chatting about before we started hitting record today. But mainly we wanted to also start with celebrating what recently happened in September and November. September for Brian and November for you, Nick. And that was crossing that finish line on your full 140.6 Ironman, becoming Ironman. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what was that moment like for you, Nick, right at that time?
Right at that time, I had a lot leading up to that race.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not only in my life, but as you guys know that we're down there with me. My dad had gotten sick when we were down there. So very emotional, not just for accomplishing what I accomplished with the race, but just knowing that how proud he would have been of me if he was down there. And just big relief off my shoulders, all the work that went into it. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it was great to be there with you and see you do that whole thing. And then you, Brian, as Kenny alluded, you had a little bit of adversity at the Ironman Maryland.
Yeah, everything was going well race day until it wasn't. And the tide came in for Ironman Maryland and walking through water up to our knees. And I was just happy to be done. And ring that first timer bell. And I ran I saw the video afterward. I ran right by my wife, didn't even see her. I was just looking right there at the arch, man. And I was just so happy to be there.
Shining the lights in your face too.
Yeah, that was happening. Nick had explosions happening behind him.
Yeah, I got fireworks, but
I know.
I'm the same way. Like, I have a video of me like high-fiving the kids, but real fast. Like, I told myself I'm going to take my time. I'm going to enjoy that moment. And when you see the finish line coming, and it's just, okay, let's just go.
Yeah.
Well, I think it always goes down to we all have a plan, right? And Tyson said it best, until we're punched in the face. And it wasn't that you were punched in the face at the end. It's just there's so much going on. You laid it out there for 11, 12 hours. You're in the dark. You're in the light. You're going through a flood. You're going through the mountains. And then all of a sudden you turn a corner and there's the finish line. And all bets go off. Like, oh yeah, I wanted to kiss. I wanted to do the caterpillar or the worm on the finish carpet, or what stunt I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, you're like, oh, I'm done.
It's over. It's over. But there's also a level of relief, as you alluded to, Nick, in your own mind, because you have been out there all day.
Yeah.
And, there's been no training day that probably equals that race day, even though there were some long training days. And when you come out of the water, you're glad to be out of the water. You want to get on the bike. When you come off the bike, you're like, get off this bike.
Yes.
I'm ready to go
So
run
done with that bike.
And then when you're at mile 26, you're like, I'm ready to be off these feet, off the run, and get to that finish line. So it definitely happens to everyone. And there's confusion, and there's people trying to sprint past you, and you're like, whoa, get out of my picture.
Right.
Yeah. Finisher pick, like a little bit of shoot courtesy here by spread out so we get individual finisher photos.
Right. Well, that's one of the cool things in Maryland is, it's a 3-loop course. So when you get to the end, the finishers go straight and everybody else kind of, they
have to go out back out again. Mm-hmm.
And I kind of looked around when I went straight and I was like, uh-oh, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
Showtime.
Showtime. Exactly.
Get the fireworks ready. Light the bottle rockets, honey.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I last mile and a half or so, I ran in with a guy from New York. I ended up watching him crash on the bike at mile 3. Didn't know it at the time. Was passing him and he crashed. I felt like an idiot because I thought, maybe I pushed this guy over. I didn't. I know that. But last mile and a half, I start running with some guy and we're chatting. And he's like, man, I'm just happy to be here. I crashed my bike at mile 3. I'm like, holy crap. Like, I watched you crash. So we ran the last mile and a half together, and then about the time the bell, I'm like, hey, go ahead, get ahead of me a little bit. Let's do our own thing. But we've stayed in touch on Instagram, so it's pretty cool to make those connections.
Absolutely.
I think I'm not going to ever race with Nick, only because I think in Moraine, you got off the bike because you watched somebody crash and you helped them. Your paramedic side helped. Yep. And then in Arizona, he has the same thing too. Yeah. I'm staying with
either someone crashes or I crash.
No, we don't want anybody crashing.
Don't be around Nick.
Yeah, we don't want any crashing here.
Well, gentlemen, congratulations once again. And we know, because we've seen it and we've been with you on your journey, that it was a long journey. And I think that's where we really wanted to bring you on the podcast today, was to rewind back to the early 2020s for each of you, and talk a little bit about, where you were in life and where you were personally at those stages, and how that's completely changed, not just from Ironman, but from many decisions that you made personally for yourselves and for your families. So, Brian, if you wanted to start, what was?
Don't you think this will be boring though, Sarge? Like, they were always made Ironmen, weren't they? Weren't you always an Ironman?
Absolutely not.
So I guess we would just have to say, buckle up, listeners, because it's going to get wild here.
I've been waiting for this one since I think we talked about this in late summer.
Race camp.
Nick brought it up at race camp, and Brian was like, yeah, I'm all in. And I've been waiting for this one. I think you're going to touch many, 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 many people.
Yeah. So, like Sarge said, let's go back to 2022. I had weight loss surgery. Don't really know what my highest weight was because I just didn't care. There was a point where, okay, I'm big. That's me.
Cared,
I am
but
big.
didn't want to know.
Exactly.
Like, didn't want to face that reality.
You're afraid of it.
Sure.
So the highest recorded weight that I have from a doctor's office is 425 pounds.
Jeez.
Wow.
And so I had the decision, okay, what am I going to do? Because my father, he's passed away now since 2017. I just remember as a young kid, because he was older, second marriage was my mother, and so he's from a different time, right? And he was a heavy smoker. And I remember being a kid, just, young, like elementary school, middle school, watching my dad smoke his life away. And I'm like, I'm going to lose my dad, as a young kid to smoking, right? And I just always had that on my mind and on my heart. Like, when am I going to lose my dad? And then I have kids, right? And I had, at the time, they would have been like 2 years old and 4 years old. So that's the age where, Dad, chase me in the backyard.
That's right.
Dad, come sit on the floor and play Barbies with me. I got a daughter and a son. I couldn't make it across my backyard playing tag with my son. I couldn't do it. Too tired.
That had to break your heart, huh?
Yeah. And then, Dad, come sit on the floor with me and play Barbies. All right, honey, let's do this. Next thing I know, I fall asleep. My wife used to tell me that, as I'm sleeping, I'm snoring so loud, she thinks I'm not, you can't be breathing. Mm-hmm. So, undiagnosed sleep apnea, because I never really went to the doctor because I didn't want to hear what was wrong with me, right?
Mm-hmm. All you do is get yelled at when you're that weight and you go to the doctor. All you do is get chastised.
Right.
Constantly.
So, you got the high blood pressure, you got the high cholesterol, you're pushing diabetes. All right, now we need to take you in for a sleep apnea test since your wife is saying it sounds like you're snoring so loud that you're not breathing.
You're not breathing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I can't breathe while I'm sleeping, which means I'm not sleeping well, which means when I sit on the floor to play Barbies with my daughter, I fall asleep. Mm. And she keeps hitting me, Daddy, wake up. Like, you're supposed to be playing with me. So I put myself, in their shoes because, same situation with me when I was little, right? I had that dad who was, the cigarettes were sucking the life right out of him. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, it's not fair to them that, what if they wake up one day and they're like, my dad is so unhealthy, I know I'm going to lose him.
Yeah.
When is this going to happen? So, you go to the doctor, and one of the crazy things is this weight loss surgery is out there, and the doctor never really brings it up to you. there's a whole lot of stuff you have to go through to have a weight loss surgery. You can't just pay somebody money and go have the weight loss surgery. Nick, might have been a different story for you, but I had about 6 months of clinical testing, psychiatric testing, all this testing that I had to go through to make sure that I was a candidate for surgery before they would even tell me I could have the surgery. And, you know, I'm going through all of this stuff and I'm just thinking to myself, you know, I don't want my kids to be scared of losing their dad. And, you know, one of the hard things was as we're driving, once I finally became a candidate and I'm decided, okay, this is happening. We're driving to the hospital on surgery day and I'm scared, you know, multifaceted there because this is a life-changing event.
Oh yeah. Things are going to be different for you no matter what, one way or the other. Right.
And that's like one of the things is, weight loss surgery kind of has a bad rap and on both sides of the fence, right? So people, a lot of times when they hear, you know, oh, Brian had weight loss surgery, he cheated. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done. I've completed an Ironman, and I'm telling you that a weight loss surgery was harder than that. Mental,
right,
physical, everything. It was harder than that. And as we're driving to the hospital, I'm scared. You know, I'm scared because it's a big decision. You know, I'm going to have to eat my meals for the first month after surgery were liquid based. And then for the next 3 weeks, they were pureed based. And then for the next 2 weeks, they were soft foods only. So, you know, I'm eating stuff like mashed potatoes and stuff out of a crock pot. And then you get back to the normal food. But the normal food isn't the same stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the diet, even still to this day, there are lifetime restrictions.
Sure.
So, you know, all of the powders and stuff, the carb mixes and the salt mixes, I really have to pay attention to that because I have lifetime restrictions. Caffeine is one of them. Alcohol is another. So, you know, I'm making this gigantic decision. And on the day of the surgery, I'm driving in the car with my wife and I almost told her, let's go home. It's just going to be easier to just go home. Mm. And the other thing on my mind was I'm going into the same operating room that my father was in. And he eventually, you know, his surgery was a success. He had lung cancer and he went in there to have the lung cancer cut out. He made it out of surgery. The surgery was a success, but he never made it home from the hospital. Jeez. So I'm heading to that same OR, the same hospital where I lost my dad. I'm just like, let's turn around and go home.
Thinking you're never going to come home from
right,
there.
exactly.
Well, you have that in your mind as a possibility.
It's right? In there, right? Mm-hmm, and then it's like, okay, so if this does go well, you know, I have to drink my food for the next month. Like, let's just go home. But with it being one of the hardest things I've ever done, I'm so happy it happened because now, you know, I'm an Ironman. Now my kids, they don't have to worry about, okay, my dad is so unhealthy. When am I going to lose him? You know, is it going to be, you know, next week? Do I get another year with dad? No, I'm going to be around for a while.
Do you think they even remember old Brian?
I think my daughter might be old enough to remember that. I don't know if my son is. I know that my iPhone doesn't. There was an app update that just came out, and if you guys have iPhones, you've maybe seen this. If you scroll around in your pictures, it shows these little icons of, you know, okay, well, you have 17 pictures of Nick. You've got 20 pictures. In
your pictures, right?
I am two different people.
Oh yeah,
on my iPhone.
Yeah,
because I look so different.
I bet, absolutely.
Oh, well,
for sure.
So I have a couple questions. What was the mental? You said this is going to be a mental battle. What were some of the things that you were getting ready to fight in your mind with this?
So, you know, when you're getting ready for the surgery, you kind of talk to people, right? And so this is like a pre-surgery mental battle is, you know, I run into Sarge at the store and, you know, this is Big Brian. I run into Sarge and we start talking, going back and forth and, so yeah, I'm getting ready to have, for me, it was gastric bypass surgery. Oh, my uncle had that. It didn't work.
He gained all the weight back.
They gained all the weight back. It's not going to work.
People are the worst.
Yeah. So, and like, that's one of the things.
Why do you want to be an Ironman?
Yeah. I don't know.
People ask you that all the time.
Right.
Why would you do that?
Oh, I think people, I mean, going back to it, relating to like my swim, you're going to do so good, man. Watch the sharks. There's sharks out there.
Yeah.
A lot of them. I've seen them.
Yeah.
Greg at Project One.
Thanks.
Yeah. I caught
nothing.
a hammerhead 1 mile off of the coast of Key West. Thanks, Greg.
That's why I
Appreciate
think
it.
it's important to tell your story on a platform like this, is because people are real fast to share all the negatives, all the failures, but not to focus on the successes.
That's right.
And I
Yeah.
think it's important for people to hear that side.
Right. So,
So
yeah.
you're hitting that every week at the grocery store, at the hardware store, wherever you're going, right?
Yep. So
Coworkers,
Coworkers,
friends,
yeah.
everything.
it's like, that the mental part of going into the surgery is like, okay, well, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
I did all this work and it's not going to work. Mm-hmm.
So you're running a gauntlet for a while there, right? Especially for the 6 months that you're anticipating that you want to do this.
Right.
You're going down the path of all the procedures that you have to check all the boxes, see all the specialists, take all the tests, take blood draws, do all that stuff.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And yet you're hitting resistance after resistance after resistance. Not necessarily people telling you to stop it, but they're
Right.
giving you no encouragement.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. You're still going to gain all your weight back. Everybody will tell you. So, and then,
Yeah.
and
Thanks,
then,
man.
Afterwards, and that's why I got into the endurance sports. Well, okay. Well, it didn't work for Sarge's uncle, the hypothetical uncle that it didn't work for. I'm going to make it work.
Did you feel like, okay, I know who those people are, and in spite of them, I'm making this work? Did you have that type of, okay, you're telling me I'm not going to be able to do it, I'm doing it?
A little bit. And I would say that came after.
Yeah.
For me, it before, like I told you guys, I was
Scared.
ready to tell my wife to turn the car around as we're heading down there.
Yeah.
All of those thoughts were in there.
Where was she in this whole process with this?
She was supportive.
Yeah.
I think kind of even with the Ironman stuff, she supports me 1,000,000%. But, and maybe this is on me, I don't always broadcast what's going on with me,
Yeah.
I just,
You're a dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Nose
you're
to
not
the
allowed-
grindstone.
You're not allowed to.
Yeah.
Right?
Nose
In
to
some
the
ways.
grindstone. I'll catch you on the other
You're
side.
not supposed
Yeah.
to.
Right.
Just to hold it all in and just do your job, right? And
Exactly.
take care of it. But I guarantee she was thinking the same thing that you were thinking about your children. She's worried about how long Brian's going to be around.
Right.
What am I going to do when he's not here? Because if he stays this way or we continue to live like this, it's probably not going to be for very long.
Exactly.
So, that was buried in there on her. in
Yeah,
her
it
head.
had to be.
So,
Well, I think it's also part of the, that's why we liked Ironman training, because, what I can tell Sayward, sometimes I don't feel good about telling her I'm scared about something, getting ready to swim. Hey, babe, all my passwords are here. I have this in life insurance. I have that. I don't know.
Right.
She's like, what are you talking about? I said, I'm afraid. Why am I hearing about this now? And when he knew about it, Ron knew about it.
Right.
It's just I try to keep that in,
right.
It's
And,
tough.
you're not trying to scare them.
No. And that's part of why you probably like running with Shane, even though sometimes it's hard to talk because he's so dang fast.
Right.
But you can relate some of the problems you're going through to somebody that you just feel like, hey, I'm running with them. We're going to solve the world's problems right now.
Yep.
And you come back better,
Yep. And so then mental afterwards, right? So we've gone through the mental stuff before the surgery, people telling you it's not going to work. It didn't work for my uncle. There's a lot of work that goes into it. Okay. Now I've had the surgery and now it's worked, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a successful weight loss surgery person. It's been a few years. I've kept the weight off. I'm an athlete now. Well, now there's still a little bit of resistance because, I'll get it all the time. I'll post a picture on social media, a before and after picture, and guarantee you I'll get a DM. Hey, how'd you lose your weight? And I'm not shy about it.
Right.
I had weight loss surgery. Used it as a tool. Mm-hmm. I went to the doctor. I tried keto. I tried Atkins. I tried this. I tried that. I tried exercise. And I can show you guys pictures of me crossing finish lines in 2017 where, I ran, walked, the Mario Lemieux 6.6 here locally in Pittsburgh, and I'm giving Mario a high five. I'm huge. So I've tried it. I've tried the exercise stuff back when I was big. Nothing worked. So I needed the tool to jumpstart me. But now there's that stigma of, well, he cheated.
Yeah, which is ridiculous.
Right. Because I did more work to get myself to the surgery and then work after the surgery to make it a success.
That's right. I mean, if somebody has a heart condition and they have heart surgery, did they cheat?
No.
Are they supposed to just fold up and die?
And that's something my surgeon told me before surgery. He's like, the surgery is a tool. You will lose weight.
Yeah.
But if you don't make lifestyle changes, you don't work at it, you will not keep the weight off and you're not going to get healthier. And I very much, I've taken that to heart. That, like you said, it jump-started it. When I was trying to do exercise, I'd hop on a treadmill for a mile or two in 2017 when I was big. But from my back being so sore from the weight and all the years in the ambulance and everything, I would do more damage to my body trying to do that physical exercise because of what my size was.
Right. And I used to go to the doctor after doing a 1 mile walk run. My knees would hurt so bad that I thought I popped something.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they'd send me in for x-rays and stuff. They're like, you basically have the arthritis of a 70-year-old.
The interesting thing is, if you think about, you probably lost 200 to 250 pounds. Okay. Maybe even more. And if you carried a 25-pound weight up the steps, you're smoked by the time you get up there. Like, oh my God, I carried that up there. Everything's sore. And that's 25 pounds. Your body was carrying almost a big person on top of you.
Yep. Yeah. So I've lost 200 is where I'm sitting at now.
Well, you're a tall guy, so that's
Yeah,
outstanding. So, I mean, you look fantastic.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, nobody will ever say, yeah, he had that surgery, but damn, he ran a sub 4 hour marathon. He did an Ironman. You're not looking back.
Right. Yeah.
Go forward. And why do people like to look backwards? It drives me nuts.
Right.
Drives me nuts.
Well, I think we'll dive into that during the podcast. So let's bring that up in a minute. But, and Brian, we want to come back to your point about the after it all went down and then what you did. But I'd like to hear from Nick, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Nick,
sure.
tell us your beginning story of your decision point.
So my decision point, Brian and I, we talked before, our lives parallel each other a lot. You know, we've both been involved in emergency services, everything like that. I was a paramedic for about 20 years before I had surgery, and my back was just crushed from it. One being I was, again, never weighed myself. My highest recorded weight was 394. I was probably closer to 400 pounds when I had surgery, but I couldn't. We went to the beach with the kids probably 6 months before surgery, and I couldn't walk a half a mile. Like, we go to the boardwalk and I'd be like, hey, I have to sit. I can't go walk the boardwalk. And at that point, Emma was probably 9 and Noah was 6, somewhere right around there. And they just wanted to go, as they should. They're kids that are that young age. And I just couldn't. And it really demoralizes you when, like Brian said, you just can't do with your kids. You know, did they expect I was going to go complete an Ironman? No, absolutely not. But they just wanted dad
to be dad,
be able to be dad, and be able to be involved in that stuff with them without being so sore. And I go to the chiropractor and I go to the doctor, and same thing. Like I told my PCP, I said I think I'm going to try to go do a CrossFit workout or something like that. And she's like, I don't know, with your weight, like, she's like, I encourage you to be active. She's like, but with your weight, I don't think that's a good idea. And I tried it, and she's right. It was a terrible idea. But I actually had to drive to Alabama for surgery because my insurance wouldn't cover it. Still had to go through all the same process that Brian did. And I remember those fears driving. Now we're driving 12 plus hours in a car for surgery. My brother-in-law is driving me down there. And I remember the night before.
Was it just you and him, Nick?
Just me and him. Yeah. Jody stayed home with the kids. I actually, when I started researching it and finding self-pay options, like nothing around here was just feasible. It was $10,000 more to pay here. So now not only am I taking this risk of going to have surgery, scared to death of having surgery, but now I'm taking out a loan to do it. So, even more reason that it has to be a success, because now I'm paying on it. If I gain all this weight back, then what was the point of that? But I called Jody the night before surgery from the hotel in Alabama, bawling, crying, like, this is a mistake. I'm ready to come home. And she's like, you're fine. And she was the same way. She was very supportive. I think initially she was like, looking at me like I was crazy. Like, do you really want to do this? Is this a good idea? And the more I researched it, I'm just like the Iron Man. I'm headstrong. I get an idea in my mind, and I keep plugging away at it.
2 days later, he has a bike. I don't know if I'm going to do that. I can't go to get a bike.
Yeah,
2 days later.
Do
you like this one, Coach?
My initial plan was an Iron Man next year, and just, got plugging along, and eventually she's like, okay. So the surgery was really no different, but she 100% supported me and had my back, and knew that it was the right thing for me.
That's right.
As scared as she was, and same thing with the training. She's like, you're crazy for the training I do. And I'm like, I know, and I'm okay with that. But I still know that I have her never ending support.
That's right.
And to the point that my surgery was September of 21. In June of 22, I drove her down there, and she had the same surgery with the same surgeon. And she has done very well with that as well.
Nice.
Just to try to make us healthy for the kids.
Yeah.
Overall. And same thing, like my daughter Emma, she would have never considered doing any sort of exercise stuff. She's involved in color guard, but now she's running cross country. She wants to do a kids triathlon some days. My son Noah did the little kids sprint thing we had here at Victory Race Camp, and just loved doing it. The Iron Kids Run in Arizona, we were down there. They would never even consider that to be an option if I wasn't,
if they didn't
showing
see Dad
them,
doing
leading
those
by
types of
example,
things.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that the same point that we made with Brian, your wife, that Jody, was obviously very supportive, but scared, but also scared for you if you didn't make a change, right? And scared if you didn't do that, how long would you be around? What would life be like for the whole family and the kids and everything? So these are those, moments where you're at the precipice of something, whether it's an Ironman, it's a physical activity, or in this case, a health decision that really has changed both of you to be incredible people. Not that you weren't incredible people before, but now you're feeling it,
living life,
and now you're living it, and now you're active, and you're doing the things that you really wanted to do. You can run around for 12 hours in the backyard now with your kids. They're too tired.
Yeah,
to
they
go.
think now you need it now.
Right?
Hey, let's play Barbies.
She's falling asleep. Right?
You're like, wait, I want to play now. Let's go.
Yeah, the kids can't keep up with us now.
No, it's great though, and that's exactly a little bit of Kenny and I's story, and Coach Scott of just wanting to show our kids that they could do anything.
Yeah,
it wasn't as much your personal situation. We both have been overweight and have struggled a little bit, not to that degree, but it was about showing the kids that there's more out there. It was about being able to show up and, do their activities with them. And that's, so it's
and I agree with
awesome.
Brian. It's 100% mental, mental leading up to it. And then after, and like you said, you don't hear a lot of the positives. You don't hear people saying, well, you're going to do great with this surgery. You're going to lose the weight. You're going to be so healthy. No, it's you'll never be able to eat this again. You'll never be able to do this. Yeah. So-and-so had this surgery, they gained all the weight back, or you really wanted to do this. You don't hear the positives. You don't get a ton of encouraging from people when you're leading up to that, and kind of makes it feel, I don't want to say lonely, because that's not necessarily the term, but you definitely feel isolated in, am I dumb? Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you question. You question the decisions so when you get the random person, could be a friend, but they're still random in this decision tree that you've been down, and you've done the research, and you know what's going to be right for you and what your decisions are to go after it. And they're just anecdotally dropping grenades into it, right? And trying to blow it up. And some of it unintentionally. It's just a human nature thing, or it could be the way they were brought up.
I don't think they're doing it to be mean.
Yeah, the way they were brought up, or the way they've been treated with all their goals and dreams and aspirations. People dropping grenades into their lap and, letting the sparks fly. But to continue on and to drive through it and to have the support of your families and, to go through all the steps and to come to that is fantastic.
Were you guys both big growing up or did it just come on at a certain point?
I'd say like 7th, 8th grade for me.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I played like Little League baseball as a kid. I was never the most in shape kid playing Little League ball, but yeah, probably junior high. And I remember being in high school, just always feeling like the big kid.
Yeah. And that sucks. It does. And it's, growing up, we all battle something, and that's a hard one when, you feel like, man, I would want to do that, or is this shirt too tight on me? Like
Right.
everything,
Oh, yeah.
it's just awkward, And then you're wearing 5X shirts, and
There's not a whole lot of places to shop for big kid clothes.
No.
As a big guy, like you had to pick and choose places. It's crazy to go into a store and be like, I want that shirt, and no, I'm going to find it in my size.
Yeah.
Instead of, this is the only shirt option I have because it's the only one that's in my size. So I'll have 5 different colors in the exact same shirt.
Right. Yeah. I eventually wound up I started to buy everything online because no store ever had anything for me.
Yeah. It's tough that, I want to strangle one of our athletes and he'll know who he is. I'm not going to name him. I tell him all the time, quit with the XX, quit with the XXX. I see his race pictures and he's a runner, trying to get into triathlon. And, I tell him, dude, you're not that guy anymore, but there's something stuck with him that no, I am.
The cover up, right? Trying to do the cover up.
Yeah. And he's not that guy. He could wear an XL and look really good, but he's still stuck on that. Nah, I'm still big. I still have it in my mind. It's that like, I wore it. I'm on it. It's just that getting comfortable in that skin again, cause he's lost and he's lost so much weight and
But that'll never go away. And we talked before, when you have a lull where after Ironman Arizona, you're obviously taking an off season and you're still taking in somewhere around the same calories you're taking in before, but now your weight jumps up a few pounds because you're not training as hard as you were. You see the scale move up 5 pounds, immediately my mind goes to, I'm going back to 400 pounds.
Right. And Nick, we were talking in the guys' WhatsApp about like New Year's resolutions type stuff. And Nick threw in there, excuse me, I want to make sure I'm watching what I'm eating. And I don't know if anybody but me felt what you were saying. Because, everybody else, maybe I overate today. But for Nick and I, if we overate, it's like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah, you feel like if you take that one step off the ledge, you're at the bottom again. Even though that's logically thinking, I know that's not the case, but it's never going to go away.
Right.
And I talked to people a little bit about after Arizona, and I have that imposter syndrome sometimes. Like, that's not me doing that. That's still, I look at my before pictures, like that's me. So you have, even though when you think logically about it, I know, hey, I put the work in, I deserve that. But that emotional versus mind disconnect, it's real easy to say, I don't deserve to be doing this. I'm not capable of doing this. Again, I know I am, but.
And I laughed a little bit there because it's such a funny statement for you to say that, because we've witnessed you guys doing all these things and completing all these accomplishments. So for us, that's the only picture of you two we really know.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen some of your photos on that you've posted of yourselves prior to, but for us, we're like, it's kind of twisting my mind up a little bit because I can't understand it. Logically, I can, but emotionally, I'm not understanding because I see you guys like rocking it, right? Killing it, running everything you can run, like. From a race perspective, you guys are some of the, like, we got to like tone it down slightly, pull you back every once in a while. Like, whoa, another race.
Don't tell Jody that because she's all about that.
No, I know. But we'll just coach you. Like, is this a fun race? Is this a going after it race? Is this a hot one or is this a cold one? Right. So it's all good. But I just wanted to interject that we are struggling. I'm just struggling sitting here with you today to see how that would be, only because we've seen so much accomplished from
most people in an off season do, gain 5 or 10 pounds. And that,
for you
when
guys,
when I gain 10 pounds, it's just like, holy crap, I'm going to be heavy again. I'm never going to do this again. And I know, again, it's not logical, but it's the emotional side.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I wrestled with it in college from too much drinking.
Yeah.
After I stopped playing baseball, keeping that same eating pattern and eating habits. Like, I love everything. Do you want Ho-Hos? Yes. Twinkies? Yes. Pumpkin pie? Yeah. Like whatever.
Don't even ask. Just put it
more pizza.
Right. More. It was about 5 cents more. I'm that guy. And, and it's hard. It was a hard thing for me to shake and get rid of. But the one thing that like I would notice on both of you guys, and I've said it, if you two aren't some of the hardest working guys, and I look at Hayden said it. I've said it to Hayden. Coach Alice always talks about it. She's like, I can't break Brian. He's green every time. Unless there's something really critical, there's a red. And I get it because when I was like that, the minute I went from like 260 down to 180, and it wasn't a healthy way. I mean, I think I was eating one meal a day. I was running like 6 or 8 miles every day. Again, not good. Never did a triathlon except I was up at IUP swimming, and someone's like, there's one down at North Park, and I ended up doing it with Murph. And that's where triathlon came up. But there was things I didn't want to miss anything. I was afraid of that old person.
Absolutely. Miss one workout, it's over.
That was 280 pounds. And to your point, I've been there, man. I get what you're saying. Like falling asleep when you really shouldn't be. You know, the snoring, like it's insane,
right.
You know, because your throat's big, you know, and it's just breathing is, you're lucky. I mean, you're lucky you didn't pass then.
Right.
You know, just in your sleep.
Man, I was so close. Even the blood pressure, you know.
Right.
I had, my blood pressure medicine was like just jacked up so high because it's just, we went through, me and the doctor, like 4 or 5 different attempts at blood pressure medication, different medications, different dosages. It was just always way up there. And, you know, blood pressure, that's one of those silent killers.
Yeah.
So, you know, and then the undiagnosed sleep apnea, it's like, I'm probably lucky to just be sitting here.
Yeah. Yeah. You are like rewinding back a little bit. You made a comment about like the iPhone and your pictures. So I think we're getting ready for Pittsburgh Marathon. You're about to run. And I get a text, him and Alice are on a text together. And I say to Coach, I'm like, who's he mad at? I'm like ready to fight somebody. Because he sent a picture and he said, it's time to show up. It's time to prove the haters wrong. And I can't let this guy get in my head. And I'm like, I said to Alice, I'm ready to punch that guy in the face. I don't even know who it is. I said, who was that? It's me. It was him.
Prior me. Right.
I didn't even recognize that guy. Like yours, I can kind of see because your face. Yours, no chance.
Right.
It was that one specific picture that I'm like, who the heck is that? Yeah. And the wrestling. Then I sat back after she said that's Brian. My heart broke. I'm like, man, like so. Sometimes people that don't have to battle that just have to worry about the distance.
Right.
Now he's worrying about the distance, old Brian, all the people.
Oh, the wolves are on your heels, right?
right.
I mean, in your head, the
Exactly.
wolves are right behind you, ready to take you down. So you
It's like, you know,
you're going to
everybody
get beat by that.
Everybody always says, well, what do you think of when you're, you know, running 20 miles and you're not listening to music? Because, you know, Ironman, you're not allowed to listen to music. So I did a lot of training not listening to music. I'm like, well, I think of everything and nothing at the same time because, you know, if I start thinking too much, I'm probably just going to stop and start walking home because old Brian, he's going to be like, you know what, it's a lot easier to just sit on the couch.
Yeah, and I carry stuff with me. I did it Ironman Arizona, the Pittsburgh Marathon. I have a bracelet that says never again.
Oh, yeah.
And at Pittsburgh Marathon, I carried pictures of me and the kids. When I was
It's on your bike right here.
It is.
It's off the camera
bike.
and off
Never
the shot,
again.
but it's here with us at the podcast.
At the Pittsburgh Marathon, I'd pull those pictures out when it was tough and look like me at a hoedown with Emma, where she's young. She's probably 5 or 6, but she looks tiny in front of me. And I'm just massive standing over her. And the same thing, I didn't carry the pictures in Arizona, but I had that bracelet. And what I thought to myself the whole time in the marathon, like, okay, my legs are hurting. This is hard. Physically, yeah, it's hard. Maybe similar physically hard as it was when I was heavy, but mentally, like, this is nothing. I overcame all that stuff I overcame. The kids are out here watching me, proud of me and encouraging them. And I think it wasn't my fastest marathon at Ironman Arizona, but mentally it was the best marathon I've ever run. I just felt great the entire time because I was just thinking, looking at that wristband and just saying, yeah, I'm never going to be that person again. And this is nothing compared to what I did before.
And you were living. I
Yeah.
mean, you were living it out. And that was ultimately the goal. You guys didn't start with the goal of the athletics necessarily before you went and made the decisions on the surgery. But after the surgery and sticking with it and being disciplined in what you needed to do, drinking your meals, and only, you know, following the advice of all the docs that said this is how you have to do it, then you started moving better. And you're like, what could I do?
Right.
So what was your first thing, Brian, that you thought of I could do now that I couldn't do before?
So I started just on a stationary bike in the basement, and I would do 30 minutes every 2 days. And then, you know, I signed up to go to Planet Fitness, and I would go in there. I'd get on the elliptical, same thing, half an hour, and then I'd go lift some weights. And then I had a buddy, he started to show up, and he's like, I just want to run a mile on a treadmill. And I was like, I'll be on the elliptical. And then I seen it, I was like, wait a minute. If he can run a mile on the treadmill,
right. Sign me up.
I can probably run a mile on the treadmill.
Yeah.
And then it just kept on going from there. And then first race was the EQT 10 miler here in Pittsburgh. And that's where stunting was born.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have to show you the finish line picture of the EQT 10. I'm toasted. I'm like,
so let's talk about this stunting real quick. Because were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh, huge. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up, was a wrestler.
Okay, so there it is.
Yeah.
I kind of figured, because it's like a Randy Orton. Is it?
Yeah, that's the one that we've settled. Yeah, I mean, so my son, he did the that 1 mile race that I think P3R here in Pittsburgh does.
Yep.
And he's like, Dad, I'm going to hit your finish line post.
I'm going to hit it. That's the best.
I'm like, all right, go ahead.
And I like that it's your finish line post.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So that's the one that it's kind of, that's the one that I hit because, Randy Orton, he was, one of the more well-known guys when I was really, really into wrestling.
Nice.
So that's, it's an easy pose. Even if you're tired, you can still hit that one. But yeah, I was like, all right, I seen my pictures at the end of the EQT 10 miler where I'm just like, I look like I'm about ready to hit the ground. And I was like, they got cameras at the end of these races. I got to pay attention.
I gotta work on that.
Right?
Like, he had the RKO, right? That's his finishing move.
Yeah.
All right. Can we do this and get video of it with Digital Media 360 at the pool this year? I'll stand on the ledge. Give me an RKO out of nowhere.
We'll do it.
All right. We're going to get camera footage.
We're gonna get kicked out of the pool, I think.
I'll probably sprain my neck when I want to swim again.
Nick will have to come and put a C-spine stabilization on
put me
you,
to work.
right?
And then he'll see me a couple hours later. Yeah, I had a bad incident.
Put the collar on
Yeah,
you,
that was me.
backboard you
Yeah, that
out
was
of there,
me, yeah.
right?
Okay, so EQT was your first rep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I signed up I was like, if I could do 10 miles, I could probably do 13. So signed up for the Pittsburgh half. And then we went to vacation and we were talking to some people. And I mentioned that I was going to do the Pittsburgh half marathon. And the person misheard me and thought Pittsburgh marathon, 26 miles. And I just went with it. And next thing I know, I went in and I was like, all right, you've done hard things before with the surgery. Let's do hard things. You already proved you could do 10 miles. What's 13? So I went in there. And
So you're hovering the cursor over the two buttons back and forth. And you hit that 26.
That's what I did. So I went in. I was already registered for the 13.1, and I went in there and sent an email. I was like, let's make this 26.2.
Upgrades.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So good stuff. Nick, what about you? Sorry.
Yeah, that's when, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you guys, I don't know if you realize how much you inspire. Mm-hmm. That's how I found you. I saw your first Pittsburgh marathon. I started following you on Instagram, watching you train, watching you go. That's when I first saw him, and I'm like, holy heck, his journey is pretty cool. The Instagram's a little weird because it's like, who's me, or
who me?
Who me? Okay, okay, I like it now. I had to figure it out because I kept trying to find you under Brian Peters, and then it was like always coming up as who me, and it was just good stuff. But that's watching you do your first. Eyes started to then come on you. Were you feeling eyes then watching you?
Oh yeah, big time. So, and that's what that first 26.2. I was so emotional at the starting line. I got to give Pittsburgh Marathon props because it's a pretty nice race, and you're towing the line, and next thing you know, there's fireworks going on.
Oh yeah,
music blasting, and I'm just like,
I was in that race.
Holy cow!
And you got 40,000 people pushing you from behind, right?
And I've got goosebumps thinking about it right now, and.
I remember getting hit with fireworks as you're going underneath that tunnel.
Sparks.
Yeah, right.
And you're emotional.
Garage area.
It's emotional. The national anthem's going off.
Exactly.
It's 7 a.m. I think it might have been raining a little bit.
It was.
Misting. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was a good.
And you run into your family and friends afterwards, and they're like, well, how was it? And it's like, I can't even put it into words to tell you the truth. So, and it's funny, that's how you found me, because that's how I found Victory. Mm-hmm. I'm just scouring Instagram to see if anybody had video of the start line. And that's when I found the now infamous our boy Brian Leak. He basically, that's the year he filmed himself
the whole time.
Bongos, right? stopping to eat bacon in somebody's front yard.
I like the fact when he went into Starbucks, ordered a cup of coffee, sat down, and he goes, "Hey, do you mind if I move up in line? This might screw up my time."
Not to mention that he's just flying through the race, crushing anybody's else's time while doing
3:30.
That's what happened.
3:30 with all that stupidity.
Yeah, he stops in, and you know, my first marathon was like 4:20 or something like that, and I see Leak's video, and I'm like, oh man, I smoked this guy. He's waiting in line in Starbucks and eating bacon. He beat me by an hour.
Yeah, he's home already.
I'm like, well, how in the world did he do that? And that's when I found out, oh, okay, Ironman. What is Ironman? Oh, well, if he can do that, then I guess 26, not that it's easy, but if you can figure that out, then 26.2 is something that, so that's when, you know, I found you guys through watching Brian's stuff. And then I was like, all right, let's give this triathlon stuff a try.
Yeah. Now you're in.
Yeah. Now here we are.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. What about you, Nick, after you got through those initial months of doing all the
Did you go back to that CrossFit class?
No,
did you ever go back
never
to
again,
CrossFit?
never again. So surgery was in September. Come to the new year, 3 years ago, probably right to now actually, and I joined a gym, and it was with someone who I knew growing up, but she's a professional bodybuilder, and started going to the gym and training with her and her husband, and I'd go twice a week.
That gym's pretty infamous. I mean, I've heard you talk about it. I think, does Val go there too?
Yeah, that's actually where I met Val.
Yep.
And roped Val into coming over to Victory.
Yeah.
too. Shantae.
Yeah.
Would go to that. Bunch of people go there. And her mom was a music director when I was growing up in musicals as a kid. So I've known her since she was little, just never, hooked up. So I started going there, and they had this challenge that you take pictures of yourself losing weight over the course of an 8-week period. Tanza was actually involved in it that same year. He did really well. So we did that challenge. And as part of that, I thought, well, let's try to do like a couch to 5K thing. I'm lifting 2 or 3 times a week. Let's hop on the treadmill and run the treadmill. And as part of that, talking to a friend, I said, I'll sign up for a 5K. It was a Shamrock run in March of 22, it would have been. And just did the couch to 5K thing leading up to there. And I ran that 5K at like almost a 12-minute per mile pace. And I was dead. Like, I remember coming home to talk to
Dead
Jody,
in such a good way, though.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, I felt so accomplished. And it's because it was a huge accomplishment. 6 months before that, I was 400 pounds. So, and once I did that, pretty much that year of 22, I signed up for every 5K I could find. If there was something on a weekend that I wasn't doing something, I was trying to race. And it culminated in doing I think I did the 10 miler that year, actually, too. And getting towards the end of that year, I started seeing Victory stuff around, and I had heard you on a podcast, Kenny. So I started just creeping on Instagram, same thing, and started liking some posts, and then you started reaching out. And that would have been November of 22. And in January of 23, I joined Victory again to do the half marathon, like Brian said. That was my plan. Went down to the kickoff run in Pittsburgh and did like the 10K. And I'm like, that wasn't really that hard. Like, maybe I should be going for more than the 13.1. And
it was really quick.
It was really quick. Like, I had trained with Victory for maybe a week, and I'm messaging Coach Lauren, and I'm like, so I messaged Lauren, who doesn't know me much at all. And we've had like 2 conversations at this point, and I'm like, I think I'm going to go up to the full marathon. She's like, you sure? And I'm like, not really, but we're going to do it anyway. So I did, and I ended up going sub 4 in my first year doing that, and that kind of.
I think I even know it.
Well,
was it 353 or 359?
56.
56.
Yeah. I think that you guys both bring out some really good points of what you had to do to get through your procedure and the follow-up and the mental training, the discipline that you developed on doing all the things right to make sure that it stuck and that it wasn't going to be just a non-issue.
Right.
Translated into athletics in this case as a way to help you continue that journey, right? Because it's certainly burning calories is part of the equation of what you need to do as you continue to live. And I think having a goal and those races provided that, whether it was every weekend you're doing a 5K, you could have run the 5K around your house and not even had to sign up for the race.
But having an actual race.
But signing up for something and putting your name down against it, whether it's online or in an app, and then, a little bit of bling. You get a medal or something from it too, so you get to hang that on the wall, which is awesome. That's why the medals exist. But I think that's very important. I think you both have highlighted that progression of one event leads to the next event, leads to the next event, and I think goal setting in that way and accountability in that way is ingrained in every single athlete that we've ever dealt with and what we do. We know that signing up for something is the best way to stay on the plan.
Right.
So,
and as I said to Kenny before we started this, I had heard him, probably on the same podcast I listened to, say just because a 5K is your goal and a marathon someone else's goal doesn't diminish that 5K.
not at all.
Great for you. Your 5K is your Ironman, and phenomenal. Go for it and crush it. And I support everyone who does that, especially looking back on Brian and I's journey from the weight we were to now. Like, if you would have asked me 3 years ago, are you ever going to run a mile, let alone do a race that's 140 miles? I said, you're crazy. There's no way that's going to happen. I tried to get sick to miss the mile in high school because I didn't want to do it.
I got gout, coach.
I can't do that today. But
I was there too, dude. Come on.
right. But
I hated that day.
And now you
I'd have to
look
put my
back and-
corduroy pants on right afterwards.
man.
Sweaty.
And I really try to encourage anybody, whether they're having weight loss surgery, whether just trying to get in shape. And I've had a handful of people message me, hey, can you help me get better at running this 5K? A friend of mine is going to the State Police Academy in a month and a half, and he wasn't running fast enough. So he'd come to do some track workouts with me and just get his speed up. And just because he was only trying to run a mile and a half in a certain distance doesn't diminish that.
Not at all.
He pushed, and we got him to the point he wanted to do that. And long term, I'd love to get involved in trying to coach some of those beginner people that are trying to get to a 5K. I think, the insight that I can provide would be phenomenal. I am not to that point now, but at some point in the future, I think I have a lot to offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
You most certainly, both of you would, because you're seeing it from all perspectives. What once was such a long shot and a dream to now I've danced on the biggest stages. Let me help. And I think that's part of, when I started seeing you, I started like really interested in like, wow, look at this guy. This guy's incredible. Like watching what you were doing and how hard you were working. And it was in that gym with the black flag, I think, on the back wall, and all that stuff. And I'm like, man, oh man. Then I found out you're local. Then I'm like, wow, this is even better. And then watching you do what you both have done has been nothing short of amazing. I mean, seeing the relentless pursuit to not be that old guy, to not be him, to have it in my pocket. Like I remember when you came to my house after your first marathon, I was proud, probably more proud of your time. It wasn't even the time. It was more proud to say to everybody, this is Nick. Look at the picture he carried with him. And nobody could believe it. And I know the picture. I think you had a collared shirt on, khaki shorts.
Yep. The
red shirt.
I still put it side by side. Like I have it right now on my phone is that compared with my Ironman finish photo. Because, that's probably where I felt the worst as a person. That was a week before surgery, that picture.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot, like I'm not like getting kind of emotional, like, cause you said something so incredible there when you were the big Brian, as you referred to it, the big guy, the old guy, when you were that guy, what was giving you goosebumps? Probably not much.
Nothing.
And then when you take that chance, and again, running a marathon may not be the goosebumps somebody's looking for because it may not be for everybody.
Right.
But what you found that day, Zoda said to me one time, when he finished his first, it was the same time you did yours. He said, what's next?
Right.
There's
it wasn't,
something more.
It wasn't the distance. It was the place that you had gotten yourself to.
Correct.
To be standing in that moment.
The goal.
With the music, with the fireworks, with the drones going overhead, with the national anthem, with 50,000 of your closest friends now, doing something different.
Right.
Doing something hard, regardless of whether that was your first 13-1 or your first 26-2 or your 50th.
Right.
And, that's the goosebumps.
Right.
That's what gets you the goosebumps.
Yeah, putting all the work in and getting to that goal. Like I said before, if it's a 5K, when you get to that start line and you're like, I worked hard to get here and I am doing what
Had to be the same standing in the chute, freezing your feet off on the concrete in Arizona wearing your swim cap and your wetsuit zipped up,
Yep.
ready to go, and having to now know
every race,
you got to wait 40 more minutes to get in the water.
Every race has those same,
right. And you, Brian, down in Maryland, going through that same thing, running into that water in Chop Tank Creek and having to, do what you were going to do for that day and just chopping wood. But that same goosebump thing, it may not have been the exact cinematic,
Right.
But the feeling
arena that the starting shoot at the Pittsburgh Marathon is, but you can get those feelings, and that brings those feels up for sure.
Yeah.
We've been there. We've done it. We've seen it. We've felt it. I mean, I did my first one in Lake Placid, and they're talking about some dude that did the very first one 20 years earlier is there again that day. And there's another guy, and I can't remember his name, but he had done every single one of them up to that point. And I'm like, oh my God, like how could this be?
And I always try to seek out.
I just try not to die.
Yeah.
Right.
I always try to seek out someone at the start line too.
Yeah.
Friends, teammates, because just having those your people with you to start that race
Makes it all off.
makes it that much more special too.
That's great. I mean, that's something that I've witnessed, hundreds of times now with Victory is us meeting up before a race, us having a prayer, getting people together that want to say a prayer. And then getting into those shoots,
I jumped in the water with Alice side by side.
Getting into the shoot with the people that are going to race this similar time for the water, at least. So you have those, people to share that moment with is incredible.
Right.
That's the beautiful thing. It's that company that we're about. Like, so you, McLean, and Zodis went through something that you'll always be connected with them.
Right.
You knew what happened that day. Your group was incredible. You had 8 there.
Yeah.
You guys all went through it together. You knew who you went in the water with. You knew who you ran through that massive flood with. It's insane. Like, that's the band of brothers that we always talk about. That war went down that day, and you guys came out the other side. You got the goosebumps, the nerves. It's really weird when you fight so hard. And you could have quit. You could have quit at any point in time that
I would
year.
have quit Thursday in Arizona if it wasn't for you guys being there and the team being there. When we got to Arizona and found out my dad was in the hospital sick back here, if I wouldn't have had the support, people that have been through it, Alice has been through some rough things.
That's right.
And just everybody keeping my focus where it needed to be and coming and praying with me in the mornings and just reminding me I would have not raced. I would have 100%. I felt guilty being there, but I know my dad would have wanted me to be there. And I'm very grateful that I did, but
100%.
Without the team and the family that was there.
Yeah. It helps you keep perspective in the moment. Where in that moment were you going to be the most useful human being on this earth? And it was to finish that race.
Right.
And then to come home, you couldn't have affected the outcome any differently if you'd have come home 3 days earlier, or you went home on Monday or Tuesday, and then you got back and you dealt with that situation as you needed to deal with it.
Right.
But you had that Ironman moniker already stamped on you.
And he was able to see me do Happy Valley this year, and that was the first. He had been at a 5K. He was a cross country runner, and to know he was there and how proud he was of me for that race, and that he wanted to come to Arizona before he got very sick. I obviously used that as motivation down there too, just knowing that he would want me to be down there racing.
So we talk about it almost every podcast or every time we have an athlete meeting, right? That you're going to be prepared, you're going to train, but Ironman or the marathon is going to push back, right? And so yours was an emotional pushback in that regard.
Yeah, and some
I'm
physical.
sure you faced many different setbacks or pushbacks in your races throughout the years, Brian. So, that's what we all have to continue to prepare for. Right. Be ready to handle those contingencies and work through them.
But that's the thing with that mental toughness that you had to endure to get over that surgery and going through that process. You'll never, like you wanted to quit maybe 3 months prior. You had just had surgery and your miles were down and you weren't getting where you wanted. And I'm literally laughing. I'm like, I don't think Nick knows Nick Eder. Nick
I texted you from the hospital and said, 12 weeks from Arizona and I'm getting my gallbladder out tonight. Like, I don't know if Arizona's going to happen. And you're like, just just calm down, like get through the surgery. And then
do you know who's texting me right now? It's Nick Eder, and Nick, don't back down.
And when I went to see the surgeon in my follow-up 3 weeks later, he's like, I think you can start back to train. And I'm like, yeah, doc, that ship sailed like 2 weeks ago. I said, I haven't swam. I'm letting you give me clearance to swim. I said, but he's just kind of shook his head. He's like, all right, you're good.
I figured.
Yeah.
I think you figured it out your first moraine. You were like, I was texting you right after. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? Because both of you guys came as runners.
Right.
And that has sprung into, and we're not talking 17-hour Ironman.
Right.
We're talking 11, 12-hour Ironman, very competitive in their first go. Like, so you guys dance at a very, very high level. So it's not like you're using every second of that race to finish. You're putting the time, the effort in. I mean, your biking in Penn State was one of the fastest splits that we've seen.
I think you rode angry that day for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what made you mad, but you took it out on the course for sure.
Well, he paid for it on a run. But
well, the heat got you there. It got everybody.
Sometimes you do that though, just to show the course who's boss. Exactly. You're like, I'll take the hit on the run, but I'm gonna beat that out of
the bike course that everybody was afraid of. All right, let's go.
Yeah, bang.
See, you're telling me it's a hard course?
Boom, that just happened.
Boom,
right?
yeah. Well, it is funny because I think he rode angry in Maryland too, and I think the anger was coming. He texted me. He's like, I asked Sarge when I should get down there. He said Tuesday in the Chesapeake, and there's nothing happening. I'm like, yeah, man, next time Thursday. Go Thursday.
Did I say Tuesday?
Yeah. You might have tried typing Thursday, and Tuesday came
maybe autocorrect.
Yeah, we were down there. We were down there a while.
That's what he said. He's like, I've been down here. I just want to fight. And I'm like, I know.
I am ready to roll.
That's right.
Oh yeah, totally.
You put it in. So where are you guys? I'm going to ask the group, and then we'll see what you say. But what's next? I guess. What do you And this is not hard and fast, but like high level. Like, what are you? I know, Nick, you're maybe ultra a little bit in there.
I have nothing officially on the calendar. Like, it's about time to put something officially on the calendar.
Yeah, you're itching, dude.
It will be.
Active keeps sending him notes like, Nick, where are you? We miss you.
Yeah.
So likely the Pittsburgh Full Marathon again.
Okay.
I haven't signed up for sure, but I'm kind of leaning that direction.
Yeah.
I'm eyeballing doing a 50-mile ultra on the Baker Trail.
Got it.
It's hard to get into. It's kind of competitive to get into, but the start line is very close to my house this year. And as Jody calls her, my training wife and I run the trail a lot.
Oh yeah. We might have some ins there to get your name in there too.
So Rachel and I run this section of the trail a lot, and I enjoy it. I enjoy running the trails, but when you're training for an Ironman, like if you roll your ankle or break your ankle on a trail, well, that was kind of stupid because you're training for an Ironman.
Oh yeah.
But if I'm training for a trail race and I roll my ankle, it's part of the training.
It's part of it. Yeah.
And likely Ohio 70.3.
Yeah.
Is kind of the Ironman I'm eyeballing this year, and something in the fall. I'd like to run maybe a marathon and fundraise for the Alzheimer's Association in memory of my dad.
Okay.
Eyeballing maybe the Air Force Marathon because he was Air Force. Just
where's that at, Nick?
Dayton, out at the Air Force Base out there. And,
right, Pat Air Force Base.
Yeah, and he was Air Force. I have to see what my daughter's marching band schedule lines up to do first because I won't miss any of her big competitions for a race. There'll be time for those in the future. But
are we coaching too? Are we coaching cross country?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be a volunteer coach for my daughter's cross country team.
Nice.
The coach, he watched me chase the kids all around the course all year this year and encouraging them. And he pulled me off to the side when we were out at a track workout one day and said, "How would you like to coach next year?" And I said, "As long as my daughter's okay with it, with Dad being there." And she loves the idea. So
that's great. So you got like a potpourri of
and ultimately I actually have a phone call with Hayden tomorrow because he sent an email like, "Hey, what are you kind of looking at this year?" And I sent him about 10 races, and I said, "I know I'm not doing all 10 of these. These are the ones that I'm interested in, all the things I like, and I just have to kind of pick and choose where my weekends line up to be off." Right. Eyeballing maybe Eagleman just for a PR course, but again, I don't really know. I kind of see what the.
So now that you've you punched the ticket, right? You got you're getting the tattoo, maybe.
Yeah,
I've got the tattoo.
I have some ideas. Yeah,
are you getting one?
Oh, 100%.
All right.
I was eyeballing them before.
So now you can do the destination races, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, well, that sounds like a cool venue, or that one, I've take the family out to this city and we can do some things together.
I have family in northern
that.
Alabama. I'd like to do Chattanooga at some point this year. I think it's just timing wise isn't going to work out, but maybe next year it's like an hour from my aunt's house with all kinds of cousins that my kids would love to spend some time with. So I could stay at her house and drive to Chattanooga. And so that might be a next year. Just
Yeah, sure.
same thing though. Destination, like where can we go as a family and spend the quality time together as well.
But I hear that ultra in there. It's barking.
Ultra, and then next season maybe another full.
Got it.
I promise
Got it.
my wife no more fulls than 25. Just timing wise,
Yeah,
that
got it.
takes a lot of
And
time.
what about you, Brian?
Hold on, throw a real random one in there for Hayden, like Chuck and Steve's 5K in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
He'll be like, I don't know anything about this, but I'll have to research it. Yeah, let me know about this.
Tell him you think the elevation's real big. Like get them all wound up. Something real random.
That's right.
And let them know that's your A race.
Yeah, that is.
yeah.
Focus on this one.
Yeah. So for me right now, I'm waiting for some dominoes to fall in place, but I have punched the ticket for the Pittsburgh Full Marathon. So
Boom.
I will be there. And then kind of the same thing here. Probably Happy Valley. Not signed up for anything yet, but I'd like some redemption on the course, just to get through the run and actually be competitive there. So I had a really good swim there. Had a really, really, really good bike at Happy Valley.
Really good.
And then try to see if we can't still hold it together for the run, and maybe qualify for something further down the line.
Got it.
And then
Mighty Moraine, USA.
That's
yeah.
And now these
USAT
that's one thing. Like,
Nationals,
I'm in the new age group
right.
this year. That's 40 to 44-year-old men. I just cannot keep up with. They're always smoking me. I'm like third, fourth in my age group. This year, I'm in the 45 to 49 group, and all the ones that beat me last year in the 40 to 44 are still younger.
Hey.
And looking at my times, even if I wouldn't necessarily go race USA Nationals, depending on scheduling, I would love to qualify just to say I did.
That's if I qualified for an Ironman thing right now with them all being overseas the next couple of years, don't know if I would go.
Yeah, just not feasibly.
To say that I did.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So and then maybe something in the fall, whether it's a 140.6 or an ultra swim or something along those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a good
We've already talked about Chesapeake.
I saw he wrote his name on the board for that.
Well,
There's a question mark.
that's one of the
erased that
things.
part,
Yeah.
White out.
Real creepy. Like you can see the page. You can clearly see it's
I
whited
put a
out.
piece of Scotch tape over the question mark.
You can still kind of see it, but maybe not. But he's turned into one of the best swimmers we have inside of Victory.
Absolutely.
I remember the first swim he came out to Richland Swim Club with us, and you told him, like, with how tall you are, like, you're going to be a phenomenal swimmer. And I told him this, I think, at the Christmas party. I'm like, you have turned into a phenomenal swimmer. You're so
I couldn't even swim 100 yards at that when we met up. That was my first workout with Victor.
Yeah.
I was coughing and about to die in that 100 yards. Kenny's like, just swim down and back. And it'll be 100 yards. And I'm like, I've had enough. I'm done.
And he told you, he said, with how long you are in the water, like, you'll be fast. And
He is. I mean, I can't keep up with him now too. I mean, and that's kind of cool to see how, and that's where, I was talking to Angie Pinion yesterday about what we want to do with her this year. And one of the interesting things is she's so green, and you guys are so green under the collar. You're just now learning what that athlete inside you is, because it was lost for so many years. Right. And now it's out, and it's, you're refining it. You're getting better. You're understanding your likes. You're understanding areas of opportunity. In the swim for you could be deadly, man. Mm-hmm. It's how long you are and how long your arms are.
Right.
One kick off the wall, he's like already 3 yards ahead of me because of his glide. And understanding that, Chesapeake, a 10K, and you could make this season of your racing local. Moraine, hit your Ohio, hit your Eagle Man where it's a 4 or 5 hour drive, nothing crazy.
Exactly.
That's good stuff. Mm-hmm. I just think it's showing that, the listeners out there hearing your stories and your podcasts, to bring it full circle into now how your goal to just be a healthier person for your family has turned into now you're, checking off these boxes on some really big things. It's still showing your kids and that there's possibilities out there for them. You said Emma now wanting to be a runner and cross country, and you're coaching.
And Noah's on the Zoot webpage.
Noah's dancing.
Dry suit, doing the gritty.
and Zoot, in Arizona.
Absolutely. And, that it's just the progression of life to have big goals for yourself, whether they're personal, they're family oriented, they're professional, or whatever. And that's something that seemed like you guys got the gift to find again through that wanting to do better. And we're so proud of both of you in that regard.
Gift is the right term. Like, anybody that's listening to this, like, I don't care if you're heavy, if you're out of shape, you're never an athlete. You don't have to be an athlete. Anybody can accomplish hard things. Just have to start and commit to it. And if nothing else comes out of this, that's what I want people to know, that it doesn't matter what your abilities are. It doesn't matter if you're running an 8-minute mile or a 15-minute mile. It's still a mile, and you're still doing more than 99% of people in this.
That's right. Absolutely. Yep. You got a message, Brian, for anybody out there listening?
Kind of the same thing. If there's something hard out there, just go for it. Hard work. It doesn't matter if, like he said, 15, 16, 17-minute mile, go for it. I had a buddy, he just ran his first half marathon. He's bigger, just like me. He's not out there setting any land records, but he went for it. Don't be afraid to take that first step.
Right.
So for us, the first step was, okay, I'm going to have a weight loss surgery. And then once you take that first step, you'll pick up on the work that you need to do to get you there. And by the end of it, who knows what you can accomplish.
And I'm sure I speak for Brian, like, reach out, message.
Oh, yeah.
I encourage, I get messages from random people if I tag, certain posts on Instagram or whatever, like, reach out. I have no issues telling my story, encouraging people.
I'll come run with you. I don't.
Yeah.
Well, and listen, don't be people see my times, and they might be that 17-minute a mile person. They're afraid to reach out to say, hey, could you come run with me? I'll come run with you.
Absolutely.
Well, you did it in the Buffalo Creek. You brought a couple of your mates through a half marathon, and I'm always proud of, no matter what you guys do, marathons, half Ironmans, but I'm more proud of the people you've become, your leaders, and you're leading people into this. You're taking pictures of your daughter with matching ties, and you're living life. Like, that's the stuff that I get caught up in. I love walking into ADP, and one of the workers is like, oh, Brian's got his Ironman this weekend. They're following you, and it's your buddy.
Yeah.
And he's so proud of what you've done. And that's the thing. Like, I think in the world of Instagram, that little square, you have so much reach that you don't realize. And I think hopefully you guys are seeing it now. People are saying, yeah, Brian, what you're doing is unbelievable. Could you help me? Right. Yes. What do you need?
And I think I'm more proud. Like, it's hard to say I'm proud of myself, because again, you see what you were and everything. I am, but I am more proud of, I brought my sister she came into Victory after she had the same surgery I did. Again, she drove to Alabama, like, insurance wouldn't cover it. Same type of thing, but she did her first marathon at Marine Corps with me in 2023, and
raised money too.
Right, we raised money for suicide prevention for that race. But I'm more proud of seeing the other people that want to do something else. Emma, my sister, all kinds of friends that I've kind of developed this little running family, even outside of Victory, just at home. And I'm more proud of seeing those people shoot for hard things and push them.
I think that super important point of what you guys have lived and how you've lived the last few years, and since you made these decisions to move on, is how you've been able to, Victory, we're certainly here for you and for others, but you talked earlier in the podcast about the people that were giving you the negativity and trying to put up the blockers, but then as you move through that progression and as you've moved into the sports world and doing these things, you've assembled this clan around each of you, and they're not all Victory. Some of them are just friends, coworkers, other people, and they are your support system, and they should be your support system forever. Now that you're on this type of journey, and you ask them to do that, and you're either implying it or you're actually telling them, please hold me accountable because I need that. And most people do. Every human needs some level of accountability from other people. Not every single person can be self-motivated to that point. You're not going to make great decisions
80% of the time, 90%.
Yeah, but you need other people overwatch, right? And you have to know in your head that your decisions are being looked at, right? And your actions are being looked at, and the way you carry yourself is being looked at. And I think that's important. For all these listeners out there that might be struggling with weight loss and they're looking at maybe going down the same path as you did and investigating a procedure and seeing what that might be for them. It could be somebody that's not a candidate for a surgery, but is a candidate for a appropriate training plan and weight loss plan that can be managed, and being accountable to that as well can work. It could be somebody that's struggling with any other set of addictions or demons that need to help address that. Look for other people to help you in that journey and to help hold you accountable to what you want to be. Because most people want to change.
Yeah.
They just don't either get out of their way, can't get out of their own way, or they get stuck, don't know how to start.
Are afraid, all the
and
other.
To be able to have people that you can tell, I'm afraid. And they say, should I go home or should I race?
Right. And
you should race, Nick. You're here. You should race, and then you go home.
Doesn't mean to do it. The first Olympic I did at Mighty Moraine, I looked out at the buoys, and Emma said, "That's a long way." She's like, "Aren't you scared?" I'm like, "Yes, 100% I am, but I'm still going to do it."
That's right.
And that was a teaching moment to her. Just because you're scared of something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
That's right.
Do you guys watch It's a Wonderful Life? You know, by George Bailey. The gist of that story is, what if George did die that night? All those other things would have happened. Like, if you would have said, I'm going home.
Yeah. Turn the car around.
Yeah.
Turn the car around.
Would we still be here? Would our kids?
Yeah, you think about
without
that one Dr. Seuss, the places we've gone. No, it may not have been to Arizona.
Right.
It may not have gone here. Like, Emma may not be doing this. Your family may not be seeing you do your things. Right. Going to Maryland, watching your little guy stunt at the finish line. Like, they're now ingrained that this is life.
Right. Yeah.
But what if you turned that car around?
Not only would they be potentially missing out on those opportunities, but would we be there Christmas morning when they're opening presents? Would we even be there? Yeah. Like, the unknowns, if we were afraid to take those steps, are just endless.
The bravery that you showed that day to say, nope, I'm walking in, I'm not turning that car home.
Both of you.
Yeah.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And all the others that have been down the same journey as you guys are just speaking for them today. And so it's admirable. We admire you. We're proud of both of you. We're proud of everybody that's gone down a journey.
Thank you for letting us share our story.
Absolutely. All right, listeners. So you heard from Brian and you heard from Nick.
Shower, man. I'm sweating.
You need to just take a breath here. So we really appreciate these guys coming on and sharing their story with us. You know, if this is the first time you're hearing about the Victory Multisport podcast, please like and share. Follow us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, wherever you get your podcast. You've been listening to the Victory Multisport podcast. We'll talk to everybody.